We just kept you on your toes a little bit, but it's all good.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, hey, look, here we are. It's a new year. It's a new studio. Nobody has seen any of this yet. I'm not really the type of person that's like big things coming. I just kind of do shit, and when it's done, it's done. You know. So
sure.
here we are. I haven't put out an episode in quite a number of months. So I'm a little bit rusty around the edges here. But fortunately, I'm here with two of the most featured guests in Start the Beat podcast history.
Somehow.
The one and only BBGuns. Make some noise for the internet.
Hey.
And I feel like there's something kind of poetic about all of this because, like, I've been off the radar for a little bit with my shit. Y'all been kind of off the radar a little bit with your shit. We're getting back into things after breaks. A lot to talk about. It's a different world since the last time we sat down at this table.
Very much
in a lot of
so.
ways.
Very
Not
much
only
so.
musically and creatively, but in our personal lives and all of that. Life goes on.
It does.
Indeed.
But it's a beautiful thing because all these years later, we're still here together, rocking it,
Doing the
thing. So what have y'all been up to?
Well, where do we begin? Yeah, where to begin? So we're off for like 5-ish years from music. We took a little hiatus, I guess you would say. And then we came back at the end of 2024. As the legend has it, Brett Shoemaker reached out to us for a Roboto reunion gig, and then with Short Fictions and Jack Swing, and the gig went well, and Sam from Short Fictions was like, you guys should still do stuff, and then it just planted the seed back in me of possibility in us, and then we did a song and a video for fun just to see what would happen, and then
got a pretty good response.
Yeah, and then Jeff from Hellbender reached out and was just like, hey, you guys want to do a record? And then now, a year later now, here we are.
It has snowballed into creating a whole album, doing a whole rollout.
Full speed. Yeah, back to full speed. It's at least on some level.
Yeah.
And it's kind of surreal. It's been a surreal thing, especially just being completely different human beings than we were 5+ years ago.
You're coming back to a different scene too. So many of the people that were like prolific creators in 2019 BC, if you will.
Yeah. Before COVID.
Yeah, they're just not really around anymore. So like, you get back into things and it's like, where do I start? And it's almost impossible now to do anything. We were talking about this a bit before we started rolling tape, but like, it's almost impossible to do anything in Pittsburgh right now unless you're doing it yourself, like 100% top to bottom. There's very few venues or promoters that are like really doing things consistently. In fact, we may have brought up one of the only ones that's,
Brett,
been doing this, especially like that's still doing this from the time that like he was booking shows when I started this podcast over 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Like I've known him as a figure in Pittsburgh music almost as long as I've been making music in Pittsburgh for the most part. So it's cool to see that there are still some people, but you got to be a real lunatic. Brett's great, but he's a lunatic for still doing it, but we love him for it.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm honestly glad to see like him being like rewarded professionally. I mean, I don't know, but how it feels, on the other side. But as far as an outsider, just like, how he's the booker at Bottle Rocket. Bottle Rocket is a thriving venue in the city. They get lots of big comedy acts, and they book good music, and they've been good to us, obviously, this year with the residency, or last year with the residency. So I'm glad to just see like somebody like that who's been grinding for so long and is like the best booker in the city, be rewarded with a solid gig for sure.
Definitely. Now, with like getting back into the creative aspects, it had been so long since the two of you had worked on music together, and everybody kind of splits ways. I went in some weird fucking DJ path for a few years that I wasn't expecting to happen. I lose touch with a lot of people. You know, I'm curious, just like in that downtime, like were either of you engaging with creative things individually? Or is like BBGuns kind of like a return to music, not only with you together, but like,
Like
you know,
as a whole.
individually. Yeah.
I mean, during that time, like there were whatever, like I would use writing as almost like a cathartic thing more so than it was about like recording it or like actively being like, oh, I want to make an album or something. It was just sort of like, I'm feeling away. Let me just go ahead and like write a verse or a couple of verses. And then it was quite literally like, okay, I'm satisfied with this. I got that off, threw it in the trash. And so like BBGuns coming back is like a true like return to making like a serious project. I would, at least for me, I would probably say for him as well. But it's been nice to go ahead and get back to it and re-engage with it, especially after a long time of like not really engaging with like music or like the community that was around it here for a while. It's been nice to go ahead and be like re-embraced by different people that were rocking with us before and to be able to gather up new fans and listeners now with the run that we've been on recently.
I feel like it was. I have the reason. Part of the reason of the hiatus, and we can go into the various things if you'd like. But one of them was, I think we started to get we started to put pressure on ourselves to continue growth because we were like kind of grinding at a plateau in our early days, and then something kind of felt like it was breaking in the DIY scene. We were starting getting a lot more support there, and then we started getting more support from like the city's infrastructure and like on the good slots and festival bills, stuff we would never have even thought we had a chance in our earlier days. And then I thought that would just keep snowballing and that would keep growing at that same rate, and it didn't. And then I started getting really anxious and started putting pressure on us, and we need to do more, we need to do more, and you do more. And then once you start trying to do the most, things are gonna fall through the cracks, and then you get more frustrated, and negative energies get involved, and then you just realize you're doing it for the wrong reasons, and it's not about just making something that you believe in anymore. So that was one of the reasons why we were getting burned out and took a break. And then on top of things in our personal lives, it just felt like it was a time. And then COVID, it was just like, how can you even do local music, while that's going on?
Or music, period, at that time, really.
I mean, making music, but I could see, but it just didn't happen for us. I think in that break, I had a very anxious relationship with thinking about making music. We played a lot of role-playing games in the 5 or so years, a lot of Dungeons and Dragons and other smaller kinds of games like that. I think that I'm like the dungeon master of our group. So that was a lot of the creative outlet for me as I was writing. Like I wrote the whole campaign myself, and I just like this whole giant epic. And we did it for like 5 years. We're like level 17, which if you know D&D, that's hard to get to from the beginning.
Yep.
And so that I think that was an outlet. But then it got to a point where it felt like it was a replacement. And then once someone opened that door just a little bit, it was obviously we were ready to just burst back through it. We wanted to come back. We just needed someone to be like, hey, we remember what you guys did had some kind of value. People remembered it. Like I think we thought it was just going to be people, all those college kids from that scene were all going to move out and go to other places, and they're going to forget about us. And some that basically did happen, but there's a lot of people that stayed here and have said BBGuns Help Yourself specifically resonated with them. And it's like, well, maybe we should do something more. Maybe we do have more to add to the conversation.
Yeah, I find that like art over time, it's very similar to like sometimes how friendships can be when like you have somebody that you've been friends with for a long time and maybe something happens, maybe it doesn't, but you just end up drifting apart. And I feel like that relationship can easily happen with making art or making music, where music is the friend, where it's just like, I got too much shit going on. I can't hang out today, bro.
Yes.
Maybe next week, maybe next month, maybe next year. There's friends you don't see for a long time, and then the dust settles. Maybe one day you run into this metaphorical friend again, and you're like, shit, let's hang out again. And like you can come back to it.
And then it fits like a glove.
Like it's never left. Yeah.
Just pick up where you left off, sort of energy.
Mhm.
in a vibe, which is nice because I think for both of us, and I think for maybe like most musicians in general, like it never really like leaves you. There's always like that part of you, whether it's in the forefront at the time of like creation or like in the back of your mind when you're taking a break or something, like it's always there somewhere. It's just a matter of having something, whether that's like someone engaging with you and being like, oh hey, like let's figure out working on a project or do some songs, or like something happens or like you hear an album from someone else that like gives you that spark, and then from there it just like with us, like it just snowballs, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh well, here we are again,
Yeah.
right back at it before you know it, in like the blink of an eye. If you would have told me a year ago, like the beginning of January, like the end of 2024, that we would have like a whole album made and get ready to drop, like I wouldn't have believed you. I would not have believed you at all.
Putting together an album is a ton of work. You
Mhm.
know, it's more than just like a single, a music video.
Mhm.
You know, there's a lot that goes into coordinating all of the production, coordinating who you're going to get to feature on it, and also trying to figure out like what are you going to do like with this cohesive body of work that makes it
Mhm.
worthy of being considered a album.
Yes.
You know, so from your perspective, I want to know what like stepping in, what was the goal of the project as a whole? Or was it really just like a collection of songs that accidentally turned into an album? Was there like a theme that you were going for?
I think at first it started with just like JP had said, just trying to like make some songs, see how it feels and go from there. Then as it went ahead and we started like feeling good about it, it turned into like getting beats from various producers. Keach, who's the main producer on the album, produced like seven or
Nice.
eight joints on that album. Billy Hoyle, Cuno, rap name, C. Scott, shouts out to him also. Then as we started going through, and a lot of Keach's beats have like a blues rocky sort of sampling process that he does. So then it sort of started taking form of like this like folky, bluesy sort of sound. And then we just really like leaned into that sort of thing and leaned into the subject matter, which is really like a sort of like a time capsule of the age in which we live in, which is also where the name comes from and all of like the visual representation and everything. And just sort of all eventually it started off like I think JP used the metaphor of like with a sculptor. Like you have this block of stone, you start chiseling away at it bit by bit, and then by the time you're done with it, you have like a whole beautiful statue.
The story starts to tell itself.
Mhm.
It's almost like you're not even in control of the art. You're like a vessel for this magical thing, if you want to get all woo-woo crystals about it, where it's like, you know, you have a starting point, but the best art sometimes is when it's just like it just starts flowing. It's like
Yeah.
you know, the faucet's on, the faucet of creativity.
It is like very much a vision. Like once the vision like becomes clear, and it's just like, how do I fulfill that? How do I make that in my head become the reality? Um, yeah, that's definitely what it feels like. I've been really into a band from like the early '90s, late '80s called The Laws, which they're known for. There She Goes, like There She Goes Again.
Mhm.
Sixpence the Richer, I think, covered it, and it's been covered a billion times. But that record that they made is amazing. And that guy, the main guy of the band, Lee Mavers, he's like a little crazy, and he would re-record those same songs over and over and over and over again because it felt like it was in his head. But then the record came out, and like I think it was like ended up being like I think it was like U2, like Steve Lillywhite, somebody like that produced the record, and it's amazing. It's like the best version of the record. He still hates it. Still tries to re-record those songs to this day. But he's also like somebody that always talks about like how he's just like a vessel for like some higher, not necessarily, you know, religious, but like a higher power is just like speaking through this vision through him, and he's just trying to like interpolate those thoughts. And I feel like that feels very apt to like making once you have an idea and a concept or a vision, it feels like that at some point it just starts flowing on its own, and
Yeah.
like things start writing themselves, things start like happening on their own, and it doesn't feel like, because there's so many people that ask like, how can you think of all that stuff? How do you meticulously plan all the stuff? And like so much of it isn't planned. It's just like happy accidents. Like it is things happen that just work, and then that was what you always wanted, and you didn't even know it, like subconsciously. I think that happened a lot with this.
Yeah, I think that a big part of the creative process is allowing yourself the patience required to let those moments happen. But it's hard in our fast-paced society that we live in these days to allow yourself to be patient, because there's so many people doing so many things all the time. It makes you feel like you need to be generating this output that is really unrealistic for just like two human beings to do on their own.
There are people that like are indie artists, like they might, make the art that they believe in. They're not pandering to anything. But then when it goes to promote the record, then they're like, oh, I feel like I need to make vlogs, like TikTok style vlogs. And I don't even watch enough of it to know what kind of videos they're making, but that kind of stuff. And it doesn't feel like them. It feels like it's going to cheapen the art that they have made, and water it down in some way. It doesn't fit. And I feel like you have to find that path. Like what kind of, for us, the same thing. We talked about accessibility recently, like how artists have to be completely accessible. Like if you need to know everything about me and everything I'm doing all the time. And I don't think we could ever be like that. But I don't think we could also be like completely mysterious, like artists, amassed artists who never post except for when they post music, or I don't think we would ever grow that way. So it's just like finding your happy medium between the super accessible vlogger or the mysterious artist who never posts.
There's like a very ambiguous line between like fandom and friendship.
Yes.
And I think that there's like maybe some sort of psychological thing that's happened over time with like whenever you friends online.
Parasocial,
It's a parasocial relationship.
Yeah.
And that could be tough because like, the numbers will certainly get to your head if you let them. And like, there's so many people though that like follow me online and will like shit that I'm posting. And then I see them in real life and they're like, what are you up to? Like, what do you mean? What am I up to? Like, we put out this thing. Like, oh, I got to check that out. It's like, you like the post. What are you doing? Like, do you even realize like what's happening here? But like, thanks for the like. I'll take it.
It's like they post arbitrarily.
It just doesn't even feel like it's like the real world to me. And it hasn't for a long time, even though it very much is. I feel like I'm just, over time, I've become like less and less interested in engaging online and really only concerned with just like playing shows and meeting people in the real world and doing shit the way that it was when I started doing this shit. But unfortunately, the only way you're going to get people out to shows is if you fucking...
That's the paradox. Yeah, that is the paradox.
You gotta fucking promote stuff online. That's all you could do. Unless like you have the fucking time to actually go out to a ton of fucking shows and hand stuff out to people or just talk to people, or if you can break through the potential cringe factor of just texting people when you have shows coming up that maybe you haven't talked to in fucking months, or DMing people, like, hey, I got something, I haven't seen you in a while. Got a show coming up that you might like. It's like hard to do that if you're like humble, but there's no space for being humble in this economy.
It's like, it's pretty funny because we had a little like, we had a little brush with this recently, and like, sometimes, I think I said on it, sometimes when you have that sort of confidence where like, you have to go ahead, just like you're saying, like you have to have the confidence to DM people. You have to have the confidence to put yourself out there, promote yourself, network, all of that. Like sometimes that sort of pride that you take in your work and that sort of confidence that you have in your work can be mistaken for like being arrogant, as if like, oh, well, why do you deserve more attention to your work and your things than other people do? And it's not even necessarily that you deserve anything. Like you can just feel how you should feel how you want to feel about your work. You should take pride in your work. You should feel confident that your work is good and it's worthy of attention. If you're not going ahead and doing that, then like, what do you do anything for? Like some people, I would feel like most people don't go to a job just to go ahead and be like an entry-level worker. forever. You want to go ahead and try to aspire for more and climb the ladder. Same thing with art and music. But I mean, if you're fine with being in a certain space, like that's fine too. Like you need people in all these different like levels and all these different spaces for it to thrive and do well. But you shouldn't dim your light and stay in a space because other people might be uncomfortable with it.
Well, I do think though that like where it comes from is like the DIY ethos, where it's like you're just in it for the community and the music, and you're not in it to be famous, and you're not in it to make money. So you shouldn't be trying to sell yourself. So that is like where it comes from, and I do like understand that. But you know, I think when you make stuff that isn't like algorithmically friendly, and especially like I ain't getting any younger, you know, I'm not a spring chicken at this point. Like I don't have the time to wait at this point. So if I feel like I believe in something, I'm gonna try to like sell it to the people that I can, because I feel like if they just give it a chance, that they'll like it, and if they like it, then maybe they'll tell somebody else.
Yeah, and I think too, like, you know, I've had plenty of people say to me, like, let me know when something's going on, you know, and like, I think that a lot of people do genuinely mean that. I think people do want to be invited to things personally. I think it does help, because at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all seeking some sort of connection, and it's nice to be wanted. It's nice to be asked to be a part of something. And I think there are certainly more than enough people, whether they are musicians or just fans of music or whatever it is, that want to go out and do cool shit. You know, a lot of people are bored, but they don't know what's going on. You know, like, how many times have you heard like, "Oh, I didn't know about that. You know, tell me next time." And like you're always like, "Yeah, maybe." You're just saying that to say that. But
yeah, if I had $1, everyone told me, "Oh, I'll come out to your next one." Like I'd be able to move somewhere else and be living on a beach or something.
But yeah, I think that there's, you know, maybe there's a space to actually, you know, tell people about things. What's the worst thing that can happen? They don't respond to your message. Nobody's going to be like, "Fuck you, don't message me again." And if they do, all right, bet. Peace. You know,
hey,
like that's
right.
cool.
You're right.
But yeah, there's like, I really, really struggle personally with telling myself that like I'm good at something. I don't know what that is, right? You know, where it's like, I know I'm good at like, okay, like with podcasting. I'm all right at this, you know, and I've been doing it for a long time, but there's still a part of me that feels like I don't deserve certain things, whatever they may be, like acolytes or attention or city paper awards, rest in peace. You know, and it's like none of that really means anything, but it's like, you know, I am good at what I do. And if I'm good at it, then, you know, I think it's okay to be, you don't have to be like a dick about it, but it's okay to say like, hey, or tell yourself at least like, you're good at this.
Yeah.
Believe in yourself.
I think
do this thing. And if you happen to be better than somebody else and you happen to get an opportunity that somebody else didn't get because you're just better, then you're just better.
No, I totally agree with that. Like it's one of those things where it just is what it is. Like the cream rising to the top, word to Randy Savage. Like you go ahead and you just like, it just is what it is. And you should, and again, like you should go ahead and have that confidence and feeling like you are good at something. And at the end of the day, also, like you have to be able to go ahead and say that for yourself, because sometimes you're going to be the only person, you might be the only person that does believe in you on that level. Like you have to tell yourself, hey, you did a good job on that show. Keep going. Like, good job, Joel. Good job, Sykes. Good job, JP. Let's keep going and staying consistent, staying positive to yourself.
But
and as you do that, it expands out. And I think people get attracted to that sort of energy.
You got to balance that, though, with self-awareness. Because if you're just that, then you're going to lie to yourself. So, like, that's the balance of it all. Like, you have to be grounded, but you have to, like, have a realistic evaluation. And I feel like that all helps you become better at making art, because you can identify what other people are doing, not just like promotionally, like creatively, what they're doing, why it's successful, you know, like, and then what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and what are your shortcomings and what are your strengths and what do you lean into. And there's a billion factors for sure, but it's like an ever, you know, you're constantly developing as an artist.
And a human.
And a human. And yeah, these are just concepts to apply to life also.
Yeah.
Is that, you know, you're you're never going to be perfect, and you can't beat yourself up for not being perfect. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't keep striving to be better than the person that you were yesterday or the artist that you were yesterday. And I think that's kind of the two sides of the coin. And I think if you can master both sides of that, you can be an incredibly powerful individual.
It's tricky. It's really, really tricky. I think that with it's gonna fucking happen. I know we're in a time frame now where it's gonna be impossible for me to ever record a podcast and not bring up AI. So now it's happening.
Yeah.
This is the AI portion of today's podcast.
AI segment.
The AI segment in regards to just like the concept of perfection and going back to like people kind of like checking out of like current internet culture and like, I don't know. I think that there's like a really, really desperate need for just like relatability in art right now. And I think that there's a lot of people, especially younger people, that don't really care as much about like current internet culture or social media. You know, like only old people use Facebook and Instagram, but everybody still likes art, right?
Mhm.
And how, I don't know, it's going to be a fucking nightmare. But I think that I don't see there being a world where like AI music takes over. It's going to be people that like make music for fucking commercials or movies and shit like that are probably cooked unless they have like a real like visionary team that wants a human being behind it. But for like, you know, fucking Pizza Hut and Taco Bell and all that shit, it's game over. Nobody's making
jingles.
nobody's making money doing that shit anymore. But like us as artists and this, and I think that's just like, I think that's going to be like a really cool opportunity in a way to connect with people that are looking for just like a real human experience if we continue to make like human art instead of like relying on all of this technology.
I don't see how it could even take over as far as like an AI artist because there's just people demand too much accessibility from artists. They want them to be people. They want them to be living, breathing people. Like so, it just feels so much in contrast and contradiction with like what like consumers are actually want nowadays.
Yeah, like I want to know my favorite musicians like top 5 films on Letterboxd.
Yeah,
and
like what favorite foods?
yeah. What is, you know, what's Grok's favorite food or whatever?
What video games do they play? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Those are the sort of fun things that you can go ahead and learn about someone. Like that's the cool stuff, I think. Like Nardwuar interviews where you go ahead and like, oh, tell me about this record and like the significance of it to you and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think AI, at least for music, it only goes so far. Oh, I think.
I mean, like, I don't think. Okay, this is just maybe this is a wild take, and who knows? Maybe we'll reach this point at some point in time in our history or future, I should say. I mean, you can't make like good art if you've never had sex. So like, until computers are fucking people, there ain't no way.
Oh, they're coming.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. That's definitely.
I get what, at a core, I get what you're saying.
It's a little bit of a silly thing to say. But
no, I know what you mean.
A real human connection. With people. Like,
real emotion. Yeah.
And you know, there's obviously different ways to have emotion than fucking, but like, that's a big thing.
I feel like there's probably sexually repressed people that have made interesting art, but outside still, like,
of that, can AI even feel sexually repressed?
Yeah.
Right? There's those types of feelings that I think they're not at the core of all art, but I mean, how many of the best songs of all time are love songs or relationship songs? You know, that's a big piece of the pie chart.
Yep, that's valid.
People be fucking. We wouldn't be. None of us would be here if it wasn't for people fucking.
I guess the idea is that it's like taking bits of all these things that have already been made by people that have been fucking, and then it tries to make a facsimile of that. But can it do it successfully without losing the soul? You know, the soul, which is the urge, or the Freudian urge to fuck, apparently is what we're diagnosing it as. That's the scientific definition of soul.
I mean, like, you know, I think that it's just a really, really wild time because like in terms of just like supply and demand is wildly off. You know, like what is even the point of the amount of like AI generated music that's being uploaded?
We don't even need it.
What is that for?
Yeah, we don't even
We
need
already
it.
have too much art. Like realistically, none of us need to be making art for the world. We're making it for ourselves.
Everybody
but
has
there's an
some.
argument to be had that like the world maybe doesn't need more art. But I'm being silly again. Of course the world needs more art. But you know, there's always old things to fall back on. Why do we need hundreds of thousands of new fake songs when there's already so much that
There's
exists?
more records being made now than like there was in like the last like 50 years or something like that. I remember seeing like more records made in the last 10 years than there were in the 50 before or something like that.
Well, I mean, the accessibility to the technology too, which is a great thing.
Yeah, that's why.
The barrier for entry is a lot lower and or non-existent.
Yeah, I've said it a fucking 1,000 times. Like if we wanted to, like we could from where we're sitting right now, like I could make a beat on this laptop. We could record verses and distribute it worldwide by fucking 5 p.m. And that's being generous.
Yeah, that is
we could probably do it by 2 p.m.
Yes.
You know, if we really wanted to.
Yeah, we use some like auto mastering that they offer, you know, like, yeah, you get that. It's pretty much done.
But again, that's like why I think for maybe just my own personal mental health, I just try not to like really like the internet in the online world is a whole different place than the real world. And as I've entered my age, I'm in the start of my 40s now. I turned 40 at the end of last year.
Wow.
You know, I got plenty of life left, plenty of things to do. Doesn't mean I got to stop. But what is important to me at this point in time? You know, I don't really feel like I need any more friends in my life by any means, not to be rude to new people. I always love meeting new people. But, you know, like I just want to connect with people in reality. I don't need like a ton of online followers. That's not what I'm super interested in, which is kind of silly doing a podcast and things like that. But even this is more for like the community. And it always has been, you know, like if I wanted to be a successful podcaster, I probably would have started talking about like murder or whatever the hell sports, you know, whatever, you know, not Pittsburgh music. You know, there's obviously a very low ceiling, but this is like what I care about. And I feel like stuff like this is just rooted in the real world. And that's like where I want to put all my energy. But also, too, going back to talking about having confidence in yourself and wanting to do things that you want to share with the world. Of course, I want the most people to hear it. But the game that you have to play just doesn't seem like a game that I want to play. Yeah. And that's tricky.
And then when you let go of like, oh, I need to be famous, or I need to financially support myself off of this thing. Like I've already accepted I have a regular job and regular life, and this is just what is my, you know, passion. And then once you do that, then you like don't have to feel that fun. I think the FOMO starts to melt away, and then you're just like, oh, I'm back to like the reasons why I was doing it in the very beginning, and that's because it was because I wanted to. I wanted to learn. I wanted to create. I wanted to put something out there. And it almost makes the art feel better. Like at least this time around is like losing some of that. But still like using all those skills that I've learned of how to sell a record and promote a record. And still applying all that and trying my best because like that's how I am. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do my best. But just like not, I don't have anxiety about how the record's going to perform that as nearly as much as I did last time.
People are going to find shit when they find it, and you got to be patient. You know, like whenever we got here, Joel sat down and was like, "Hey, like I saw Normal Creatures put out a new song." That ain't a new song. That's a song from last year.
I knew that.
You know,
I knew it was from the album.
But that's the thing is like for some people, it's like they're gonna find it in their own time, and that's okay. You know, and I think that's like, you know, I am not a fucking. Obviously, I am not Sabrina Carpenter. Look at me, but an artist on a level like that, where it's like those types of things maybe matter when there's a lot of people that are putting money into your projects and your work and things need to perform and stuff like that. But like for independent artists, it's like, I don't feel like it's like if your album doesn't perform like by a certain amount of time, like it's completely cooked because of the amount of music that's getting released all the day. Like, people will never see it. I don't think that's really true. Like, if you're actually like grassroots connecting with people in the real world and maintaining some sort of a connection with your community, it might take time, might take 8 months instead of 8 days for somebody to find it, but still. But, having that patience can be really, really, really tough. But
I think we experienced that this summer with doing some of these shows and like the festivals and stuff. Like there were plenty of people that were like, "Oh, hey, what we did what was that? We did the Allegheny Parks concert series out in South Park. We performed at one of those. And we had done one of those before, like in 2019. And you go back there and you see people that are there, and like people were engaging with us, like, hey, we saw you guys here like XYZ many years ago, and we're glad that we got to see you again. Same thing with even like some of the other stages we were able to do. Like someone sees you at one festival and you like engage with people in the real world, and then like they're working on setting up another one. Then they're like, oh, well, I saw you at so and so and you guys were cool. So then I put you in the pot to go ahead and be at this thing or whatever. So I think that is sort of like where the real life connection sort of comes in, because then the networking aspect of it comes naturally, and then you just draw people out organically or draw people to you organically, rather than in this I guess you could say like this at least semi-manufactured way where it's like using the algorithm and all that to go ahead and garner that online attention. But sometimes that online attention doesn't manifest into the real world, and vice versa. Because there are some people that engage in the real world that aren't big like internet people. Like you have plenty of older people where like their engagement with social media is very like tertiary and just they don't really get deep on it. So yeah, I think it's important. It's important to have a balance of the two because you kind of have to exist online with the way that social media works. But I think it's definitely more important to get that grassroots, like real life sort of engagement with people. That's what gives you longevity.
Yeah, and I think that as like an artist, it's like, I don't know, you have a pie chart of responsibilities and things that you wanna do. And I think that it's really easy for, like, the creation of the art to get smaller and smaller in that pie chart. But it's like, what I care about the most is just making art and playing shows, and the rest of the stuff can happen however it happens. But trying to force it in, like, by putting yourself online to a point that, like, some people might get sick of you, and, like, they're getting sick of you because you're putting out stuff that isn't even important, just random bullshit. Whenever you finally have something to say, it's almost like the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah, I've
you know?
I've been here before.
Like, I'd rather just wait until I have something. Like, look, like, if you're gonna see me post something, I don't know, once a week, once a month, it's like, if you see me posting, it's because
Something's
this
happening.
is something that's important. It's not just another fucking thing.
Yes.
But for some people, they like being a part of that every fucking thing. I don't know. I think about I had a wacky couple of years where like I was able to like basically just like take a ton of time off work. I was making okay money. I had all the fucking time in the world. I never made less art. And like, at the start of it, I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm gonna have so much time to do so much shit. But I just got distracted. Like, you get too comfortable doing all this shit. And it's like, I started thinking back to like, when was I like the happiest making art? And it was like when it actually like meant something to me. And when it meant something to me is like when I had less time, less resources. I actually had like something like to fight for. And like, I think that there's like, so now like being on the other end of that, because like I am back to like having a normal job and just doing my shit and like fighting for time to make art. I'm actually making more stuff again. And it feels like it has like value, and like there's a part of me that honestly kind of like fears what would happen if I were to get maintain, like achieve some certain level of success.
Mm-hmm. We've actually we talk about this all the time lately, and especially because I'm married now. I'm due to have my first child in April, and like it's kind of, and my career, which it wasn't like flourishing in 2019 because I was so focused on BBGuns, and in the time off, I've really focused on my career. So like I have a solid job now, and like the idea of making it and making enough money to like that be my job has always been my dream. But now it's at the point where like, having to take a leap from a stable career to, take that risk to like small business basically is terrifying a little bit. And like, as much as it's like what I've always wanted, it's like if you don't blow up to the level where it's so overwhelming that you're going to make enough money to, from merch and touring that it's fine. Which is just not how it works. There's usually a gradual steps in between there.
Yeah.
And then like what would it even look like? Even trying to figure out how to tour right now is difficult because like he changed jobs, so he doesn't have paid time off. And how do you book a tour without paid time off?
Yeah.
You're just taking an L wherever you go.
And it's funny because like I've been kind of not necessarily poo-pooing social media and the internet throughout this conversation, but there's good and bad things about it. But one thing that is really positive about the internet is that like in a lot of ways, it's like if you want to build outside of your community and find new people across the world, like you don't necessarily need to get in a fucking car and drive 8 hours.
It's true.
To play for people. You can really try to push yourself online and then get to a point where it's not like, oh, I'm taking a gamble on driving to fucking Baltimore or
New York,
New York or wherever. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I have a fan base that I've cultivated.
Mm-hmm.
But, because like, I don't know. I think that once upon a time, sure. And I think that to some degree, like obviously touring is very important and grassroots stuff is super duper important, but the finances of it just don't make sense now. So I think like as an independent artist, you really have to ask yourself like, is that juice worth the squeeze? You know what I mean? Like, especially like as you get older, as you have other life responsibilities and shit going on, it's like, just really, is it worth it to do this right now? Or do I just like find a way to push this stuff online and hopefully, generate a fan base where you could actually maybe sell some tickets? I don't know. There's no right or wrong answer. If there was right or wrong answers, then everybody would be fucking thriving.
It depends on your own situation for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely like a balance thing because like even something we had talked about when we first talked about doing BBGuns again is sometimes it's about being strategic with your shots. Like even when it comes to creating music, like I think nowadays, I think of it almost in like a basketball metaphor. Like there are some people that are volume shooters. Like they're going to shoot 40 shots a game. And sure, you might get a high amount of points. You might get 20-some, 30-some points, but you did it on like 40% shooting. Like not every shot that you took was good. Like you airballed a few, and that's okay. Like you're not always going to hit with everything, but whenever you go ahead, and then there are like people that are more strategic with it. Like they know the analytics to be like, well, from this spot, you shoot 60%. So you got to try to work your way to this spot and then shoot. So then you might not get as many points because you're being more strategic. But whenever you do, you're hitting every single time. And again, like it's almost impossible to hit every single time. But whenever you're strategic about it, you're not just like dumping money into something in the hopes that it's going to work out.
Yeah.
You're not just like, you're not always pestering people to come and pay attention to your content. None of that. It just turns into like this organic thing of whenever you do come outside, people are like, oh shit, I gotta see if I can make the time to go ahead and be there. Or like even people that don't necessarily come out, like I've seen plenty of people that'll that'll be the sort of people when you post and be like, oh, I have a show or I'm about to release something. They will go ahead and share the content. They will engage with you online because they care enough to go ahead and do that because you've been cultivating something that's real, both online and real life.
Yeah, I think it's just like, it's really just like knowing what like works best for you and being like, you know, there's a band that I'm friends with. They're not from here. They're a band that Gray Walker's played with a good bit from out of state. And they grind like no other band that I know. You know what I mean? Like always putting out singles. Every single has a music video that's like very well produced. Like it's, you know, I don't even know how much fucking money they're dumping into this. They tour all the fucking time. They play pretty big festivals. They do really, really well. But in a lot of ways, they're still at the same level that we are. And we don't do any of that. You know, like in terms of like, if we were to play a show, like we're going to get the same amount of people, the same amount of we post something online, same amount of traction. And it's like, damn, like, unless like y'all like just are doing this for the love of the game, this just feels like you're just doing
diminishing returns.
Too much.
Yeah.
You know,
there is diminishing returns.
There has to be like better ways to like apply your time and your resources.
So something that we've talked about a lot, and the reason why we still want to hit the road on as much as we can, even if it's a little bit, is that we do have connections. At least in underground hip hop, feels like it's a lot more vibrant than it was in the late 2010s. Like New York has a really interesting underground scene right now with like the Armand Hammer and like Billy Woods and like Baldy James and then like the guys that we've been working with for years, like Hike Keach and Darko the Super out of Philly and iLive, like they've all still kept at it over the years and kind of have established like foundations and stuff. And like there's like the some of the artists that we're working with now are like based and they're doing these showcases in New York and Philly. And like there is this like little circuit that people do with like Baltimore and DC and Philly and New York, and it goes up to like Rhode Island. And then we have connections with like Cleveland from just doing shows there all the time back in the day. So like we always have people when we go to Cleveland. So like we just like planted enough seeds in that city so that when we go there, there's usually enough people to at least support a small show.
Totally.
But then if we go to some other place we've only been to once, it's just like, you know, like you're saying, like there might not be anybody there. You're at the mercy of the local that you book to kind of put it together to to promote and get people out.
Yeah, that's the shit that I feel is like rough. Like we get DMs all the time from bands that are trying to come through, and it'll be like, hey, like somebody told us about you. We're trying to come through the city. It'd be great to like, you know, get you on the bill and have you headline and stuff like that. And like, I get it. But I feel like if you're going to, it's tough because like, obviously the only way to make friends is to like, you got to go to it. You have to have some sort of a cold open, like going into a city. But that's just like such a fucking gamble. I feel like you're much better off if like there's people that you've met over time in different cities that you establish connections with. And then it's like, hey, like if you want to come through, I got you.
Those are the ones that always work out the best.
If you could trust that, that's cool. But, you know, I mean, fuck, if you're trying to do like, you know, a several day run, there's always going to be some shows in there where it's like, we don't know anybody and this is a fucking gamble. And maybe you can afford that gamble.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to do like the connecting city that like you just got to take the L and get what you can there while you get to the city that you have a base in. Of course. There is the strategies of all that. But I don't think we're ever going to tour and do Mondays and Tuesdays ever again because they were never good, ever. No matter where you were, it's just like this was the filler spot. Like, oh, we might as well stop in this place, try to get like $20 to pay for the gas to get to the next place or pay for a meal to get to the next place.
Sure.
Those are like the soul crushing kind of nights. And especially you get a couple of those in a row. and then you're like really hurting, and you really want that Thursday or Friday show to like be the big one, and if it doesn't turn out the way you want, you start to wonder if it is worth it to be on the road. But yeah, I think like Joel's saying, and like what we're all getting at is like strategic places, visits. We've been talking about weekenders more, Friday, Saturdays, like, Philly's within a day's drive, New York's within a day's drive, Cleveland, etc. Like we can get to a lot of these places we've been before.
Even like Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit,
Cincy,
yeah.
being able to go ahead and reach out that far to be able to.
And we could drive back the same night if even. Like we don't have to get a hotel or have to sleep on somebody's effing floor. Like I'm too old to be sleeping on floors.
I ain't trying to sleep on the floor ever again.
And like the thank you to everyone who let us sleep on their floors over the years. But yeah, at this point, can't do it. So these are like, how do you maximize your shots?
Yeah, there's like I don't know. There's like at the end of the day, it really just feels like, fuck it, we're doing this or we're not. Like you can try to like overplan it, but just like putting a song out into the world, like you really doing this is like none of it's in your control. Mm-mm. All you can have is like you could set up like the place, the location, put out the thing, put out the song, decide like when you're going to put it out, but like how the rest of the world decides to engage with your art, whether it's coming to a show or watching a music video or doing a stream, it's a gamble. We're gambling, and sometimes it's like it's a matter of like what level of like stakes do you want to gamble at? Like how much passive income of like your soul and like your time and your resources do you have to gamble on putting this art out there?
And some people just enjoy being on the road. Some people just enjoy doing these various activities. So maybe they haven't been beaten down by any of it yet, but it is a thing that comes up for a lot of people.
Well, sure. I mean, it's so different in terms of like what type of music are you doing? What cities you're in? There's so many factors because obviously it's be a lot easier for BBGuns to tour than a band that has 5 or 6 people with a whole fucking slew of things to carry around, right? Like that's like, because if you're doing a show and like, you might get, $75.
That's a lot more to us than
we're playing. Yeah, exactly. So there's all those things.
And that's what I was thinking about too. Like if it's difficult for us with, 2 guys with a laptop, how difficult is it for a band that needs a van? Like we can take I can take my Prius for a tour, and save a ton of gas.
Hey, we've taken my car before plenty of times.
Yeah. It's just, so our overhead is low and it's still like a cost, let alone of a full ass band.
Yeah, it's wild, but unfortunately, we've all been bit by the bug of creativity. Whether we know, even with all of these potential issues, it's still worth it at the end of the day to try. I really enjoy making art. I enjoy being around other people that make art and make music. And I just want to like network and grow at whatever pace I realistically can, just as long as I'm continuing to take some sort of step forward. I'm happy at the end of the day, personally.
No, I mean, that's what has to be at the end of the day. Like if you can't, regardless of whether you take the L or the win, if you can't just love it, then you already lost. Like, of course, you're going to go ahead and be frustrated if you put a bunch of money into something, like you put a bunch of money into a show and then it doesn't like work out as well as you thought it would, or if it doesn't work out at all, like of course that's going to hurt. But at the end of the day, like you still have to be doing it you still have to know how to do it for the right reasons and still be able to be like, well, this didn't work out, but I had fun going ahead and getting to play. And even if you just get one new fan out of it, like that's still one more fan than you had yesterday. So then that can be just, you do a few of those and you start gathering people up. And again, it might be an L, but even those L's can manifest into wins at some point.
You only compete with yourself at the end of the day, you know. And like you obviously are going to look at other people, and you're going to wish that you're on X level. But you know, as I think about this, we were talking about this recently. Is you know, we've been at the bottom, and we've been at the bottom for like the first few years. I feel like of our music career, and then we like wish like, man, I can't wait till I'm on this artist level or this artist level, and just in Pittsburgh, the hierarchy of Pittsburgh, and then you like experience some of the stuff that artist was, and you realize that ain't shit. And then you're like, even maybe if you get a little higher than that, you realize that still ain't shit. And like if you ain't living off of it, then it ain't shit. And then you realize how hard it is to even get to that point at all.
I mean, a lot of the people at the top aren't living off of it. I've said this before, but if like money is your goal, there's much easier ways to make it than art.
Yeah,
So-
this is the wrong. It's just the wrong
Just
way.
get a job.
Yeah, don't do this if money is the goal. I you know, I've seen and known plenty of people that have had much more successful careers in music that I have had, and they may have got a lot of cool things, a lot of great experiences, stories to tell, but you know, their bank account ain't any better
The
for
same,
it.
yeah, the same place.
A lot of them
we're
have-
all in the same
a lot
place
of
at
them
the
have
end of the
debt.
day.
Honestly.
Yeah.
True. That's very
A
true.
lot of
That's one thing that we've been, we are very resistant to go into debt over this. So
Yeah.
we're going to do our best, but we have a budget. We're not going to go beyond that.
Yeah. Well, you know, before we wrap things up here, I think that I want to give the two of you the platform and the space to talk about the new release, anything else that you might want to let the people know about on a social media performing type of way after we gabbed about
Socials
the
and all
woes
that.
of social media. Now let's lean into the positives. What's cooking?
So yeah, the album will probably be out by the time this is out. It releases 1/16. It's called Rust Belt. It'll be on all platforms. We're doing album release party at Spirit on February 27th in Pittsburgh. The record is it's mostly produced by Hike Keach. There's like C. Scott and some other familiar faces. But the record is more like blues rock based than our previous stuff, a little grunge at times, and is like an ode to decaying America. It is a very like socially driven project and concept, but it isn't like, you know, there isn't on the nose. It's more vibes kind of. And that's how I would sell it to people. But yeah, it's definitely different from our previous stuff. But we really believe in it. I think it's our best work yet. And it'll be on all platforms. BBGuns.bandcamp.com. You can get that and all our merch. We're doing via Hellbender Vinyl. They sponsor our stuff. And outside of that, BBGuns PGH on Instagram and all accounts.
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming by today.
Thank you for having us. We
Nice to
appreciate your
have you
time.
again. You know, it's kind of wild that even with taking 5 years off, that y'all are still probably the most, what do you say, repeat guest on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
Even with all that time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were on like a good solid like once a year trajectory there.
Yeah, more or
was,
less.
there
Whether
was,
it was
yeah.
us individually or together.
Yeah. But you know, it's nice again for me to be back in here. It feels like everything seems to be working. It's nice to be connecting again with
For sure.
the local artists. You know, I feel like there's a strange responsibility I'm putting on myself now more than ever to really try to push this show, considering the amount of spaces that we have for people to highlight underground music in Pittsburgh are going away. And you know, again, I'm just a guy in a basement in Millville, but there's not many other options right now. So
Hey, we need more.
You know,
We need more guys in their basements.
more institutions, more programs like this that champion the music in the local area and can also introduce it to some people outside of the local area. It's definitely what we need, for sure.
Yeah. So with all of that being said, wow, I haven't done an outro in a long time. I got to remember how this goes. It's baked into my memory. I should know this. And That's all, folks. One more time, BBGuns, thank you for being here. Be sure to check out their new album, Rust Belt, on all the streaming platforms. I will be back again next week. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to do bi-weekly, weekly. I don't know. I'll be back again soon. Sooner than later, I promise. Same time. Actually, that's a complete contradiction. But I always used to say same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Brian Sykes-Howe. Start the Beat is the podcast. 2026 is the year. And until next time, take care of yourselves. Take care of the people around you. Peace out. We did it. That was a podcast.
Hey.